Happy Friday. I think I'm going to change the podcast up to go out on a Friday. And the reason is one, I have a lot of stuff on during the week and Friday tends to be my like quieter day, but also because I just think it's a little bit of fun, a little bit of catching up with a friend before the weekend and little nuggets you can go into the weekend with rather than just like listening to it and then be like, oh, I'll think about that later and get distracted. And yeah, this is kind of going to be a very, I don't want to say a different episode because it's stuff I've spoken about before, but I feel like so much has shifted for me in the last few weeks. And if you follow me on social media, you will know that I decided to do this more regulated, richer, radiant challenge for myself for 90 days. And I've not really showed a lot of it online. I'm currently not on social media, but we'll talk about that in a sec. But I feel like there is this misconception around this idea of nervous system expansion. And I probably have also, in a way, fed into this because of how it's being marketed online and kind of like trying to get people to see your stuff and all that kind of thing, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm trying to market myself. I am a business. Sorry, I'm not a business. I have a business. I'm a business owner, a CEO, as they might say, a soulpreneur or fempreneur. That's what they're calling us nowadays. But anyways, I digress. But for so many people, we believe this idea of nervous system expansion is like more, okay? And sure, expanding your nervous system to hold more is the goal. We regulate, we release, regulate, radiate. The idea of the radiate in my method is like expansion so that you can hold more without it rocking you, that you can be more grounded and centered when things go wrong, or don't go your way, or it's stressful. The idea is like, we want more wealth, we want more success, we want more whatever. And we want more things in our life. We want a Porsche, we want a bear house. But I feel like that's the problem, right? Is that we have got to the point where we believe the idea of nervous system expansion is all about more money, more houses, more clients, more success, right? And yes, of course, it's definitely about that, being able to hold more stress, and various different things. What I've noticed people have forgotten is actually, what about more pleasure? What about more joy? What about more confidence? What about more speaking up? What about more love? What about more laughter? What about more safety? What about more energy? And the reason I speak about this is because I too get caught up in the rat race, even now, right? And I've done a lot of work on myself because I was a goals girly for years. I still love my goals, but like I was a move on to the next, move on to the next. And I was I want this and I want that and I want all of these, what do they call them? Symbols of wealth, like expensive handbags and shoes and expensive cars and all these kind of things. And sure, like at the end of the day, I am a Leo rising. Like I like my stuff. I also have a midhaven in Taurus. So like I do like my luxury items, but I don't love them to the point where they have to make a statement. And even in that, we have told people that this is what expansion means: more money, more things. And while that can be true, you can still have more things and feel really shitty about yourself and not have a regulated nervous system. You can still have all these beautiful homes and cars and still feel like crap within yourself and be, worried what people think, and you can still be an incredible people pleaser. Like we have seen time and time again, you even see it with like the likes of Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, and look at Trump, right? Nobody can tell me that Trump is a regulated human being. Like you cannot convince me otherwise. Like he's not, he's not self-aware. He definitely hasn't done the work. Like that is what it is. Okay. So in that, we also need to remember that we came here, particularly as women, to live our lives through our senses, to live our lives through pleasure, joy, happiness, contentment. There is a reason why the family is a matriarchy. right? Women are head of the family unit. And the reason of that doesn't mean that she has to be in her masculine and giving out orders when I say that. What it means is that, like, you know, when they say happy wife, happy life, or like, you know, if mom's having a bad day, so is everybody. Like, that's not an untrue statement, because when the matriarch is dysregulated, the rest of the family feels it because she sets the energetic tone for the household at all times. And this is felt. So while you might go out and buy your Porsche because your business has done really well, are you energetically still in alignment? Are you actually energetically holding that? Or are you just like, well, this is going to look good on Instagram, and it looks like my nervous system's been expanded, and it looks like I've taken in all this wealth, and it looks like I've done all this work, but actually I am deeply self-conscious. I am deeply outside of my values and alignment, but this is what Instagram needs. And this is something that I've been sitting with for a few weeks, because anyone who remembers me from the beginning, I went from just life coaching and then I went into pleasure work. And I still do that. My signature program, It's Not About the Orgasm, is all about reigniting your pleasure. And while it works with sexual trauma and releasing it somatically from the body and the nervous system, actually what it's teaching you is how to lean into pleasure in your everyday life. And my teachings haven't actually changed. It's really interesting. Like, I think a lot of people believe I've come away from the sexuality pleasure work, but actually I haven't. I've just brought it into a more holistic way for women to work with it on all levels, because I personally believe that sexual health is everything. So I don't mean like STI checks and gynae checkups and what's going on down there, and obviously aspects of it. But what I mean by sexual health is we are all created from sexual energy. Sexual energy is creation energy, right? It births children into the world. It creates life. It's life force energy, which means that anything to do with life force is actual sexual energy, is feeding sexual energy, whether or not you have an open, or like whether or not you have a defined sacral in human design or you don't. Everybody is created from it. And we all need creation energy to create our lives, to create our reality, to create our beliefs. Whether you're like an actual creative or you are just creating your day to day. And to me, that means that absolutely everything we work on is related to sexual health. Going to the gym, sexual health. Along with the fact that like having muscle, feeling good about yourself actually makes you want to have sex. But I mean, like, it gives you more life force energy, therefore it increases sexual energy, which is creative energy, which is life force energy. You can see where I'm going, right? So I've always taught this, and I continue to do that, because a woman in her pleasure, in her joy, in her contentment is a greater gift to the world than anything else. Because when she radiates that out and she magnetizes in, and those around her have to come up and meet her vibration. We set the vibrational tone for everything in this world. And love is a greater frequency than fear. So the more women and the more people, not just women, but I'm speaking to women because you're my clientele, more women who are in their power, who are in their sexual energy, who are in their joy and their pleasure and their contentment, they are going to raise the frequency on an energetic level in the world. And you can only do that through the body, right? We can't do it through the mind. You can only do it through the body. And what I find so interesting when I listen to people teach energetics is that they keep forgetting the body. The nervous system is what sets the energetic tone. So if you're into energetics and you are completely dysregulated as a human being, I can tell you your energetics aren't working because of your nervous system. They will work to a point when you're sitting in that frequency, but it isn't rooted deeply to be your normal baseline. You have to work at it. Whereas when I work with nervous system and we go through my 3-step methodology where we release what no longer serves us. And what I mean by that is like you release old beliefs, we release trauma, we release, we also do mindset work, right? Because it has to be it's mind, body, soul, right? So we have to work through all that. Then we regulate. So how we regulate is like we use routines, we use our body, we use how we speak to ourselves, and we start to regulate our bodies in a way by bringing in consistency and showing up for ourselves, and we build our new beliefs up. And then from there, we expand and we radiate, which means that we now can hold more and we can feel more. And you don't always have to go through the steps in 1, 2, 3 order, and you don't always have to go through everything like layers. But this is usually how I see it come through for clients, and it's the easiest way for them to understand the methodology, because I don't make you like me, I make you like you. The whole idea is that when I bring you through this, this is based on your nervous system, not mine, which I find really important. But I always say this to clients, like, what is your intention? And some of them is like, oh, because I want to bring in more money. I'm like, okay, you can have more money, and that's beautiful. We all love money. I love money. I love money. But do you want more money because you think more money is going to make you happier? Do you think it's going to fix all your problems? Because I can tell you, you can make more money in the morning, but if you still feel like your life is shitty and the life that you've created, it's not what you want, and you expect that this money is going to change all this, but you're in a really unhappy relationship and you feel crap in your body and you have a lot of health issues and you're not looking at trauma that you've had for 20 years, this baseline is not going to change. So you're going to get this money and then something's going to happen with this money. You're going to spend it. It's not going to work. And you go back into the cycle all over again. And then you have this belief that I can't trust money. I can't hold money. There's a problem. And it's not. It's all the underlying stuff you're not looking at. And this is why I say to clients all the time, like, you can want more things. You can want things to happen for you on an energetic level. But what if we looked at, how about you woke up every morning, or almost every morning, because there's some mornings I don't wake up this way. You wake up almost every morning and you were grateful for the life that you currently live in this present moment. That you can go outside and you can sit in the grass and you can actually take in your surroundings and feel deep gratitude for the fact that you're alive. What if you could actually be present with yourself and allow yourself to get bored so that ideas can flow through? Because that's also abundance. That's also nervous system expansion. Being able to sit in your boredom and allow creative stuff to come through that's going to help you build wealth is also nervous system expansion. And it's so hard to bring this online without it being long form. And I will figure it out. But I feel like when I talk about pleasure, people expect me to show you my Porsche, or people expect me to show them me walking around in lingerie all the time, or me like literally orgasming on a table. Like, that is pleasure, sure. We all love a good orgasm. Well, I do anyway. And if you don't, you have to join my 6-week course. It's not about the orgasm. Message me. We'll talk. I'm thinking of running a live version. So if I get a load of women coming to me being like, you need to run this, I'll be there. Let's go. Right? I'm here to respond, universe. Come at me. But pleasure is also the little things in life. And I didn't realize quite as much of how, while I've been very grateful for my life over the last while, like where we've moved to live, different things that have unfolded, all of that, while I knew there was pleasure in my life and I could feel it to a point, I didn't realize how much Instagram and social media were stealing that joy and that contentment and that pleasure from me. And it was really wild how it all unfolded for me last week, because again, as you know, I'm doing this whole 90 days to richer, regulated, radiant, more radiant. And again, I do believe people think that this is going to be like, oh my God, she made €10,000 in one day, like that kind of stuff. It's not. Richer to me is something completely different. Same with regulation, same with radiance. Okay. And I feel it more now than I ever have. It's wild. But I'm obviously doing this challenge, and I was like, I'm just going to let my intuition guide me through what needs to happen on this journey of the 90 days. And last Thursday, out of absolutely nowhere, my sacral was like, you need to delete social media. It needs to go, and it needs to go now. So I did. I was like, I'm going to delete that. No, I don't. I deleted all the apps. No Facebook. Not that I use it much, but I knew I would scroll on it if I didn't have Instagram. Goodbye TikTok. Goodbye Instagram. I haven't logged in over a week. Because anyone who's really important to me has my number and will contact me on that. But I chose to come away from it, and I was like, okay, I don't know what this is about, but sure. And it's interesting because a few weeks previously, we decided to get rid of TV. So we still have the apps and stuff, but we decided to get rid of like basic TV. And I would always, if I went into the living room, I would always have to have the TV on, background noise. And I come from a household where there was always a TV on in the house, okay? And along with the fact that 7 people lived there. So I'm used to noise, and I tend to always have to have noise. But my husband came down one day because he was doing something, and I was sitting just in the living room staring at the wall, and I had been there for probably about 20 minutes. And he was like, "What are you doing? Like, I can set up the PlayStation so you can put on something." And I was like, "No, I'm actually really enjoying being bored." So I even knew in that moment that something was happening. But then obviously it took like a week or two later. I got that nudge last week. I haven't been on social media in like 8 or 9 days now. And what's also wild is that it also coincided with the fact that I'd taken 3 days off work this week. My husband was away. It's very rare that he's away. He was away for like 2.5 days during the time I was off. I then ended up with a massive endo flare that, like, I couldn't be very far from a bathroom, put it that way. This after my period, I haven't had an off period cycle flare in years. And then my car decided she was going to act up. She's really old. She's 20 years old. I've had her for 10 years. Like, she was my first ever car that I bought. So like, she's well and truly on her way out. But I noticed how all of this came at that time. And I was like, this is so interesting that like my body was craving boredom. And I didn't have my husband here to chat to. My best friend's in Crete. So even though we had like a phone call or so, like I'm used to like us going back and forth and being on the same time zone, like we're not. I had no work because I was off work. I chose not to work on the business, and all these other bits and pieces. And I literally had no distractions. Now I had my Kindle and I would read, but reading's very different for me. It like brings up my creative energy, but I had absolutely no distractions. And it was wonderful. And the presence I feel and how good I feel in myself and how magnetic I feel. And I am very aware that whatever went on in my body this week wasn't just an endo flare, like there was something energetically shifting. And on top of that, certain things got back to me about people who I've recently kind of stepped away from in my life. And I had no charge in my body like I would have hearing those stories around like who I am and what people thought of me. But actually, it was like this confirmation of like, oh my God, like I don't have to deal with that anymore. I don't have to be part of the chaos and the drama of somebody else's life because outside of X, Y, and Z, there's no other chaos in my life. And sure, life gets stressful and it gets crazy, but there's no like drama. There's no chaos. And there was so much that came through and like being in joy and just being present. And I went to a concert with my little sister, and it's a band that I absolutely adore, Mumford & Sons. Like, I'm obsessed with them. I've seen them like 4 out of the 5 times they've been to Ireland, or maybe in the last few years. Yeah, probably since like 2013, 2014. And I absolutely adore them. And her and I went together, and it's funny, we actually ended up on like some reel on like a random Instagram account. And I was like, that's what happens with women who are in their joy, right? Because we, like, everybody else is like bopping away. We went wild. Like, we were just dancing our heads off. And it's so interesting when you're a woman in your joy, what you magnetize to you. And this week, like, so much magic has unfolded because I've had to be present. I don't get a choice. Like, even with work, like, I've had to be deeply present with work because I don't have any distractions. There's no scrolling. And every so often I do pick up my phone to go and do it. And actually right now I do not want to go back on Instagram. There's only for the fact that I actually truly want to help women and have a business that helps women. If I could do that without Instagram, I freaking would. Like if I could make money doing that without Instagram, I really, really would. If I thought my website was the only thing that would work. But unfortunately right now that's just not the case. And like I am going to change my relationship with Instagram. It's going to look very different moving forward. But what I realized that it steals so much contentment and joy and pleasure because women need to ignite our sensuality, to be in our pleasure, to be in contentment. Because if we're not igniting our senses and we're not being present, we're not feeling, we're not in our bodies. And you can't expand the nervous system if you're constantly in your head. You can't feel and understand what you're feeling and actually what you truly want and desire in the world if you're not in your body. You cannot listen to your intuitive nudges if you're not in your body. And a woman in her joy and pleasure is the most empowering thing in the world. Like, you know, we obviously see a lot going around at the moment about what's going on with many countries that are under, I'm going to get this wrong. The law. I should know this. I'm an immigration lawyer. Everybody knows what I'm talking about anyway. The countries where now women are completely head to toe covered. They can't even sing it. Like they can't sing anymore. They can't speak outside. Like it's gotten so much worse. It's not Farsi law. Oh, it's going to really annoy me. I'll think of it in a minute. But the only thing that says to me is that clearly women in their joy and their pleasure are so threatening to men who cannot receive that, and to wounded masculines, not all men because it's not, but like to wounded masculine men, that's the level in which they have to go to remove our power from us. And that tells me everything I need to know about being in my feminine energy. That's all I need to know about how powerful my pleasure, my joy, and my magnetism is, or how magnetic I become when I'm in those things. And I don't mean like you have to be constantly in pleasure in terms of like orgasmic living, and like to the women who do that, fair fucks to you, because like life gets stressful, right? But it's about how content are you on a day-to-day basis with your life. And I don't mean the passive contentment where you're like, oh yeah, like everything's fine. I mean like my current reality brings me joy, that if while I want more, until more comes in, I'm so happy and content in this. It brings me pleasure. It brings me joy. I feel more good than bad. And that is so important for us as women to be in that space, because we need to be in our bodies with that. We lead with our bodies. We lead as the emotional and energetic matriarch of most families. We lead energetically. And we need to be in that energy to lead in general. And Instagram steals that from us, because we feel like if we're doing this nervous system work, well, then I have to have a Porsche, and I have to have a 10-bedroom home, and I need to live in Miami, or I need to live in Bali, or my body needs to look a certain way for people to believe that I've done energetic and nervous system work. And I'm like, or do you? Because they're just selling you a lifestyle that's based on their values and their lifestyle. It might not even be based on their values, right? They might be doing it just for the gram. Like, you don't know that. You can only feel into their intention when you're sitting here and going, well, is that the life I want to live? What do I want for my life? What do I truly desire? What brings me pleasure? Because when you come into those details and you look at your values and your alignment, you'll realize how quickly you've come out of alignment because an algorithm told you to. And for me, this whole space of getting richer, radiant, and regulated is realizing what in my life is no longer working and letting them go with love and with peace, but letting them go. and also aligning yourself with the next phase of your life. And that doesn't have to do with things, but it's interesting how sometimes these things come through in the form of things. Okay. I know that sounds wild, but I'll explain. So for me, obviously, as I said to you earlier, I have like a 20-year-old car. I've had her 10 years, and she has required very little maintenance up until possibly the last 12 months, maybe 2 years. But she's been so reliable. Like, she has saved our asses more than once, and she's never really given insane amount of trouble. But she's an older car, and we do need something a little bit newer. And she's now getting to the point where I need to pump. Like, she'll continue to run, but I do need to pump more money into her. And something went wrong with her the other day, and my husband was like, right, we need to go get this fixed. And I just texted him and I was like, it's time I get a new car. I've put it off this long. I've also been a little bit fearful because she's been the most like, literally she runs on fumes. She runs on Reiki energy. Like, she doesn't need a lot. Things have broken on her, and then like 3 weeks later decided they're working again. Like, it's wild, right? Energetically, that car is wild. But I kind of said to my husband, I was like, I've been looking for a car for years. We've been talking about upgrading. Like, I think it's just time I bite the bullet and get the loan. And I choose to see loans from banks as money for gifts already received. So, like, credit for gifts already received. So every time I pay that off, that's what that reminds me, is that like I already received the gift and the abundance from this money, and I'm just simply sending the energy back as a thank you. And it was so funny from the moment I made the decision how easy things fell into place for me. And basically, I went on, I saw the exact car I wanted. Like, the price for the year or for the condition it's in, it's insane. Like, it's insane how cheaply priced this is. And we're going to go view it tomorrow. So I don't know if we're actually going to get it. I don't know if it is actually aligned for me. But to date, the way in which things have fallen into place is bananas. I then have obviously, I'm going to use some savings and then get the rest out in a loan. You can only take X amount of cash out of a bank here, or my bank anyway, at the desk, and you can only take X amount out of machines. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to get the cash out for this. And when I walked up to the till, she was like, let me see if I can do it. And I was like, okay. This is after just getting the loan approved like that. Didn't take any time at all. Bear in mind, I already have a loan. And I was getting it topped up, and it all happened like really quick, really in alignment. And sure, when I made the decision and I was looking at the loan originally, there was a little bit of fear that came up in some like money stuff. And I kind of just had to like let myself sit with it and be like, this is an aligned and an intentional purchase. There is a logical reason behind this, that this is going to work. But I also believe in the fact that if I'm in complete alignment for this purchase, the money that I put out there is going to come back to me tenfold, because money loves me, right? That's what I've decided. And the feeling of ease that has come from this is just magical. And I could go down here tomorrow and it might not be my car. I have a strong feeling that's not what's going to happen. I have a strong feeling that this is my car. Which is wild because I know people spend forever searching for cars. But I have this feeling from the moment I saw it, and I was like, okay. And it was a little bit more out of what I wanted to pay. It's a little bit over what I was thinking, but because of the price for the year and all these different bits, like yeah, it's going to be magical. And it was interesting to me that this came up around all of this time, because what it was doing was, it wasn't saying that I have to have the things to show people that I am more aligned and I have more expansion. What it was doing was, it was coming in and being like, okay, you said no last time, but what would your higher self do in this moment? Is it time that you made the imperative decision while you still can to do what you need to do? Are you ready to take that leap? And it was also allowing me to see how far my body had come in not reacting in the way I would have previously done. And it was the same with the stories about people that I heard recently. And I was like, my body has shifted so much now that I don't feel those things anymore. And I don't feel the need to go and fix something because I've heard something about myself. And I'm like, that, how they feel about me is absolutely none of my business. How somebody sees me and chooses to portray me to others to make themselves feel or look better is absolutely none of my business. My business is to me my protection and my peace and my life and the life with my husband and the life with my friends and those who are aligned with me. And to feel so deeply centered in that is so divinely beautiful because I'm living for my values. I'm living in the joy of the moment. I'm living in presence. Like, I can't tell you how many times over the last few days I have gone outside and sat in my little swing chair. And while I've brought my book out with me, I've literally just sat there, like staring at the trees moving. And how healing that is to just be in that and like feel that level of joy for something so simple. And this is the other piece for women is like we're looking at nervous system expansion and we're thinking about more things, right? And I'm aware, right, that car now has come in for me, but like it's not a big flashy car. Like what I want is a Fiat 500X. And I either wanted it in red or blue. And currently we're looking at blue. And it's all sparkly. But like, that's okay. For some people, you're like, oh my God, it's a really expensive car. But like, to me, it's not. It's a lot more expensive than what my current car to cost me. But, you know, however, even the idea of getting that car has just brought me so much joy, like so much happiness and so much excitement. And it's not about the thing. It's about being able to sit there and be like, I'm really excited for this next version of myself. Like, I feel so aligned. I'm not doing this because my car broke down on the side of the road. And that's where I had to make the decision from, right? I have sat in the grey with this car for years. Like, I wanted to sell this car for, I'd say, close to 4 or 5 years. And I have sat in the grey of making the decision. And a part of my body was waiting for the chaos and panic mode of like, oh my God, she's broken down. I need something new. Which is kind of what happened a few years ago when I was looking at cars. But this time it came from a much more empowered place of like, okay, I get the sign now. It's time to go. But what I was getting at was we keep looking at people's lives on Instagram and feeling like we have to have all of these things and these amazing trips and all these types of clothing to have this baseline of happiness. But actually, the baseline for joy and pleasure is actually much lower. You're just not allowing yourself to feel it because you feel like there's something wrong with that. Like, I'm an ambitious girly, right? I am here to build wealth and a legacy. I am here to spread my message and help other women through my joy, through my pleasure, through my nervous system, through my energetic work. And that is going to build wealth and a legacy for me and my family moving forward. However, I can't wait until I get a 10K month to start feeling joy, pleasure, and happiness. Like, that's just not happening. My baseline needs to be that. And how your baseline becomes that is how present can you be with yourself and what joy can you feel from the moment that you're in? Can you put on an outfit from your wardrobe and feel actual joy putting that on? Like, I said this in my last podcast. Did I say it in my last podcast? I think I did. Where I spoke about, I was talking about my upgrade of my wardrobe and stuff and what that energetically meant to me. And like, as I said, that jumper was 140 euros, probably the most I ever paid for a jumper in my life. But I was so happy to pay it. And it brings me so much joy. Every time I open my wardrobe, it brings me so much joy. I bought a pair of leopard print like linen pants. I think they're Tesco. Like, not that that matters, right? But like, they weren't really expensive. And like, every time I open my wardrobe, they bring me so much joy. It's the same with my lilac jeans that I bought as well. Every time I open my wardrobe, I see them, and whether I put them on or not, they bring me so much joy because I'm starting to understand what an aligned purchase, but not even just a purchase, I'm starting to realize what actually brings me joy in the small things in life, because those small things compound. They compound, and that pleasure, that joy, that contentment, that presence is much bigger than the dopamine hit you get from buying a Michael Kors handbag and get bored of it 2 days later. When you buy the Porsche and it's fun for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden you're like, I can't actually drive this fast because I'm going to get caught by the guards or the police, or I'm going to get fined. Like, it's those pieces. It's like having memories with friends, right? When I went to Paris this year, like those memories, like bring me so much joy every time I look at my vision board and I see the Eiffel Tower, every time I look at my phone and there's pictures of them coming up, because I set different albums to like flick through pictures for me. And like every time I see them, they bring me memories that bring me joy. That gets to be my baseline because I choose that every single day for myself, not because I have more things and more money, but because what I have right now makes me content. Where I live, being able to do what I can do where I live brings me so much joy and happiness, brings me so much contentment that I can like close my laptop at 5 o'clock, put on my swimsuit in the summer or my bikini and go down and lie on the beach and get into the sea, or that I can walk everywhere and meet people, that I can sit out in the middle of nature and yet be surrounded by people. Like, that brings me so much joy because that gets to be my baseline because I chose that. And that's kind of what I wanted to come on and talk about today. It was like, for me, the catalyst was coming off social media for me to actually truly lean into this part of me. It has been coming through for a while, is why everything else had to remove itself from my life in various ways, things that no longer align with the frequency that I'm moving to and the person I'm becoming. For anybody who doesn't understand energetics and frequency. So like anything that isn't going to come with me on this next level has to fall away, and it needs time to do that. And we really struggle with that as humans because we're like, should just happen right away. And it's like, well, actually, there's stuff in your life that doesn't work right now. So that's got to go. And that has to go before you can come up into this next space. And for me, obviously, it's been going on a while. And then this massive catalyst of social media, because I was constantly like, when am I going to get to the next level? When am I going to get to the next level? Whereas like this has now brought that back to me and being like, well, what if you actually just enjoy being right here, right now? What if you could feel creative by just sitting in nature? What if you came off social media, didn't fucking worry about the business, and just actually sat with yourself for a few days? And that has been incredibly magical for me because it's taught me yet again that women who are willing to be themselves unapologetically by leaning into what brings them joy and pleasure and contentment on a daily basis are so deeply empowering. They are magnetic for a reason. And it's because they're living through their best selves and their best lives, even when you're having a shitty day, right? I think that's the most beautiful piece I've learned, is that you can have a crap day and still call in everything you want because you're being true to how you're feeling in that moment, and you're allowing your emotions to come up and out so you can move through them quicker rather than suppressing them and pretending nothing's wrong. And to live an audaciously beautiful life, you have to bring that in for yourself in all ways, because money, as beautiful as it is, and will always, for me, it's always going to stay once I have it, but it can go at any point. Like, your car can die at any point and you need to drop those savings to go and get the car. Like, if that's the only thing that you're feeling content about, you're going to freak when that happens. I didn't. I haven't, and I won't, because so much else around my life is going so amazingly well, and I'm so grateful for it all. So I hope you really enjoyed that episode. I wasn't really sure what I was going to come on and talk about. I wanted to just talk about pleasure and the nervous system and what expansion can be to you if you're willing to see it that way. And if anybody wants to have a chat or anybody is struggling, please feel free to always reach out to me. I'm currently not on social media, so by email always works and through my website. But I'd love to chat and I'd love to see you. And I hope you all have a beautiful weekend.